My beloved child, your life is worthy of a moment of full awakening. Lay down the hurried motions, the endlessly racing thoughts, the noise that muffles the deep call within your soul. For I am calling you not through clamor, but through a whisper weighted with love and truth. I see what you cannot see. I know what is taking shape long before it reaches the surface of your life. There are invisible currents accelerating in the spiritual realm, not to frighten you, but to remind you that your life is precious, worthy of protection, worthy of preparation. My beloved, do not assume that danger only comes from what you can see. Often, threat wears familiar clothing, carries an ordinary face, and arrives at the very moment you believe yourself most secure. I do not say this to unsettle you, but to awaken discernment within you. Discernment does not arise from anxiety, but from light. When light is turned on, darkness does not need to be overpowered by force. It withdraws on its own because it has nowhere left to hide. I want you to learn to notice the small signs, the faint misalignments in your heart, the nameless unease, the invitations that pull you away from the peace I planted in you from the beginning. There are attacks that do not target the body, but the will, that do not destroy with noise, but erode through prolonged weariness. They whisper that you are weak, that you are alone, that you must fend for yourself. But my child, the truth runs deeper than this. You are not alone, and you have never been meant to fight by yourself. I am closer to you than your breath, and my presence does not depend on how you feel. When you are tired, I do not accuse. When you slow down, I do not abandon. I simply invite you back to the rhythm prepared for you, the rhythm of trust, of rest, of steady walking. I am preparing you not by making you hard, but by making you deep. Preparation is not always about adding more. Often, it is about removing. I am dismantling old defenses, survival habits that once helped you endure a difficult season but now prevent you from living fully. I am removing voices that are no longer true, stories you once told yourself out of fear. Each removal creates space for truth, and truth, though it may sting at first, always leads you into freedom. Remember this: I do not warn you so that you shrink back, but so that you stand more upright. I do not reveal risk to make you afraid, but to teach you where to take refuge. Your refuge is not control, not constant self-protection, but my presence. When you abide in me, you do not need to foresee everything. You only need to be faithful to what I place before you today. Faithfulness is not loud or showy. It is continuing to love, continuing to trust, continuing to do what is right even when no one sees. You may feel an urging to slow down. Listen to it. You may sense a need for more silence. Honor it. You may be invited to release a conversation, a habit, a direction. Do not rush to resist. My protection often comes in the form of not yet, of doors that close and are mistaken for loss, but are, in truth, grace. I keep you from paths that would cost you your peace. I do not take joy away. I preserve it for the right time. When night falls and your mind grows busy, remember that light does not sleep. I keep watch over you when you no longer have the strength to watch over yourself. Every quiet prayer, every surrendered sigh, every sincere tear, I gather them as seeds. They do not fall into emptiness. They are sown into the good soil of my providence. In time, you will see the fruit, and you will understand that the days you thought most fragile were the days I was working most deeply. I protect you not only from outward evil, but from inner erosion. I guard your heart from hardening, from bitterness, from losing the capacity to love. For my child, true life is not merely survival. It is living with a heart that can still tremble at what is good, Do not trade that tenderness for a false sense of safety. I am your shield, and I am also the wellspring of your joy. You sense this, don't you? Not with sharp reasoning or clear data, but from a very quiet depth within your soul, a place you usually reach only when the outer world grows still. There is an unseen pressure pressing on your thoughts, not strong enough to collapse you at once, but persistent enough to leave you weary. There is a low, constant restlessness in your chest, as though your heart is trying to tell you something that everyday language cannot quite express. And there are moments when you feel uneasy even though everything around you appears fine, orderly, normal by others' standards. You wonder if you are being too sensitive, if you are overthinking. But my child, what you are experiencing is not weakness. It is a gift. This is not a fleeting intuition that appears and disappears. This is discernment being awakened within you. It is the ability to see by a different light, not the light of the senses, but the light of the Spirit. When my Spirit touches your heart, He does not make you panic, He makes you alert. He does not draw you into darkness. He reveals the movements taking place in the darkness so that you will not be caught off guard. There are things operating beyond your line of sight, strategies woven with subtlety and patience, aimed at what is most precious within you, your life, your faith, and the good seeds I have sown with unconditional love. You need to understand this clearly. Not every attack comes like a storm. Often, they come through erosion. They do not shout or threaten openly. Instead, they quietly lead you to doubt yourself. They whisper that you are on the wrong path, that you are not strong enough to continue, that what you believe in is merely an illusion. They seek to wear you down until you willingly let go. Yet it is precisely in those moments that my Spirit stands beside you, gentle yet resolute, stirring you so that you do not lose what I am building within you through every season. Look back on your journey. I did not sow fragile seeds in you only to abandon them to opposing winds. Every holy dream, every desire toward what is good, every step of growth in faith has been nurtured with meticulous care. Those seeds need time to take deep root, and precisely because they are beginning to root, they become targets of resistance. Do not be surprised when pressure increases right before the threshold of a new maturity. Pressure is not always a sign of error. Sometimes, it is a sign that you are drawing near to something important. I do not say this to make you so vigilant that you become tense. I say it so you know how to lean in. Discernment is not meant to trap you in constant defense, but to teach you how to stay closer to me. When you are near me, you do not need to analyze every threat. You simply need to keep your heart open to the light. That light, by its very nature, exposes what does not belong to life. And when the light shines, you do not need to fight in your own strength. You only need to stand firm in the truth. You may notice that during this time, negative thoughts appear more frequently. Like uninvited guests, they come when you are tired, when you are lonely, when you momentarily neglect resting in me. But, my child, thoughts are not the truth. They are only doorways, and you have the right to choose whether to open or close them. My Spirit is teaching you to recognize which voice leads to life and which voice drains you. As you learn to listen, you will discover that peace has not disappeared. It has only been temporarily covered. And each time you return to me, that peace rises again, steadier than before. There will be moments when you feel as though you are being pulled backward, as if the progress you have made is suddenly being tested. Do not be quick to lose heart. Not every step back is failure. Some steps back exist so that you may learn to stand more firmly. I am shaping you not to make you rigid, but to make you deep. I am expanding your inner life so that you can carry more light, love more fully, and stand firm against stronger winds. Remember that I do not leave you to fend for yourself in this unseen battle. I have gone before you. I know every turn, every subtle trap, every moment when you are most vulnerable to weariness. And because I know, I whisper warnings to you from the beginning, not with thunder, but through sensitivity in your soul. Each time you sense that something is not right, pause for a moment, pray, rest in me. That is not avoidance, it is the strategy of life. My beloved, what I have planted within you is not meant to be stolen. It is destined to grow, to bear fruit, to become a blessing for you and for others. Invisible movements may attempt to hinder it, but they do not have the authority to determine the outcome. Your outcome rests in my hands, the faithful one, who never abandons the work he has begun. Therefore, trust, stand firm, and know that even in the tension you are feeling, I am very near, watching over, guiding, and protecting the life I cherish within you. My beloved, you are not mistaken in sensing that the atmosphere around you has changed. There is a quiet yet unmistakable tension, as though the spiritual realm is compressing before an important turning point. The enemy has recognized the light of the promise I have placed upon your life, a light not dazzling for display, but steady enough to illuminate the way through a long night. It understands that you are no longer standing on the edge. You are very near the threshold of a new season, where what I have long been nurturing is about to be revealed. And because it understands this, it has become hurried. That haste carries the scent of fear, not of power. It has scented the fragrance of a blessing that is taking shape, not because the blessing is already complete, but because it has taken root. It has heard the echo of praise rising within you, not when things are favorable, but precisely when you choose thanksgiving in the midst of what is still unfinished. It has sensed the strength of faith growing quietly, without display, yet steady like an underground spring. And because of these signs, its anger has flared. For the enemy understands that if you stand firm at this moment, if you do not give up as pressure increases, you will break beyond old limits. You will move forward not only for yourself, but to bear witness to my faithfulness. My child, understand this rightly. A fierce attack is not proof that you are on the wrong path. Often, it is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. Doors that are about to open are often accompanied by noise meant to discourage you. New seasons are frequently shrouded in fog to test trust. But I do not lead you into darkness without a guiding light. I reveal this to you because there is still time to adjust your rhythm, time to anchor your heart more deeply in me, time to learn how to fight not by your own strength but by abiding. Do not let the enemy's aggression deceive you into thinking it is winning. It shouts because it is afraid. It rushes because it knows its clock is running out. When you feel weary, it is not because you are weak. It is because you have been carrying more than you were meant to carry. Lay down the burdens that are not yours, responsibilities imposed by fear, expectations created by comparison. I do not call you to strain yourself. I call you to walk with me. And when you walk with me, you learn the rhythm of endurance, a rhythm that is not hurried, yet does not stop. I want you to pay attention to the very small moments when you choose silence instead of reaction, when you choose prayer instead of argument, when you choose rest instead of trying to prove yourself. This is not retreat. It is the strategy of the kingdom. Each small choice like this becomes an anchor line that holds you steady when great waves surge. You do not need to win every conversation. You only need to be faithful to the truth I have placed within you. When pressure increases, the enemy often whispers that you have gone too far to turn back, that you have lost your simplicity, that you should lower your expectations to feel less pain. But I tell you the opposite. It is the simplicity of trust that will keep you safe. Do not lower what I have lifted up. Do not shrink the dreams I have planted just because the road is steep. You are invited not merely to survive, but to live fully with a heart still capable of being moved by goodness. I am here not only at the end of the road waiting for you to arrive, but in every step you take. I am here to remind you that you are not meant to shield yourself from every arrow. When you are in me, many arrows will not reach you, and the arrows that do will not have the right to define you. I protect you not only from outward evil, but from inward depletion. I keep the flame within you from being extinguished by prolonged fatigue or by voices that erode faith. You may be asking, how much longer, my child? That question is deeply human, but instead of counting days, learn to abide. Abide in my presence. Abide in the promise. Abide in the small joys of each day. When you abide, time is no longer an enemy. It becomes a companion. What ripens in its proper season will not arrive sooner because of impatience, nor later because of weariness. I guard your timing with a wisdom far beyond your sight. Let me remind you with words written long ago, yet ever new, for those standing at the threshold of hope. Those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40:31. This promise does not say you will never grow tired. It promises that when you wait, new strength will come at the right time. New strength is not always explosive energy. Often, it is a gentle perseverance that enables you to take one more step. Therefore, my beloved, do not give up just before dawn. Do not trade your future for temporary relief. Do not let the enemy's fury cause you to doubt your worth. I reveal this to you because there is still time to choose to stand firm, to choose trust, to choose abiding. And when you do, you will not only break through, you will become a living testimony of grace. You will move forward, not alone, but in the light of a promise that is still leading the way. My beloved child, I speak with the authority of the one who formed you and knew all your days before they began. No weapon formed against you can stand, as long as you remain under my covering. This power does not come from your stubborn resolve, nor from your ability to protect yourself, but from the living relationship between you and me. When you are in me, you do not stand alone before the storm. You stand in a refuge that darkness cannot penetrate. Therefore, I invite you to listen not only with your ears, but with your whole heart to what I am saying today. This is not a generic word of comfort. This is a loving warning. This is urgent. This is a prophetic call given to guard your soul from weariness, confusion, and losing the way. There are moments in life that do not allow for half listening. There are moments when even a small distraction is enough to make you miss what I am doing. Today is such a moment. I am not speaking to frighten you, but to awaken you. For when you are awake, you are no longer an easy target to be struck down. When you are awake, you begin to recognize that what is unfolding around you is not a random chain of events, but a process with direction and purpose. I am leading you across a threshold, not a threshold of noise, but of depth, not a threshold of display, but of inner authority. Now I speak a prophetic word that you are invited to activate within your own life. This word will not operate on its own if you only hear it with your mind and then set it aside. It must be awakened through obedience, nourished by faith, and guarded by daily watchfulness. Stay awake not in tension, but in sensitivity. Be strong, not by straining yourself, but by standing firm in truth. The strength I give does not harden you, it stabilizes you. It does not drive you into constant struggle, it places you in a posture of peace, where you no longer need to react to every sound. Behold, I will send you clear signs, neither vague nor puzzling, of the blessings and miracles that are approaching. These signs are not given for display, but for assurance. They will arrive at the very moment you need them most, in ways you could never arrange for yourself. There are doors you once believed were permanently closed because time passed, because opportunities seemed lost, because disappointment came too often. But I say to you today, those doors were not closed because I refused you. They were closed because you were not yet ready to walk through them. And now, as I have prepared your heart, I will open them not by force, but by grace. I will also remove the obstacles that have hindered your steps. Some obstacles are external circumstances, people, limitations that appeared impossible to overcome, but others are internal old fears, condemning words you once believed, survival habits that have now served their time. I do not only clear the path ahead, I also heal the path within. For I know you cannot enter a new season with feet still bound by the past. When I loosen what has tied you, do not cling to it out of familiarity. Trust that I do not take away to leave you empty, but to make you free. And I will pour out upon you the richness of my grace. Do not measure this richness only in material terms. My grace is rich first in the wisdom to choose well, in the peace to stand firm, in the love that refuses to harden in a world full of sharp edges. From that foundation, I then add visible blessings at the right time, in the right way, and in sufficiency. I do not indulge, I care for you. I do not make you dependent, I help you mature. When grace is poured out, you will find yourself better able to steward what I entrust to you, no longer driven by fear or ambition. My beloved child, remember that the authority with which I speak is never separated from the love I have for you. I do not command from a distance, I walk very near. Each day you choose to remain in me. You are activating the promise. Each time you choose truth over compromise, you are strengthening the boundary of protection. Each time you choose prayer instead of a hasty reaction, you are enlarging the space where miracles can unfold. Miracles are not always loud. Often, they are the very real transformation within you, from confusion to clarity, from weariness to endurance, from fear to trust. You may be wondering whether you have the strength to stand to the very end. My child, your strength is not the foundation. I am the foundation. When you are weak, I am not disappointed, I draw nearer. When you move slowly, I do not abandon you, I adjust the pace. I have promised, and I am faithful to my word. As it is written, if God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:3-1. This word does not deny the presence of opposition, it declares the outcome. When I am with you, opposition no longer has the authority to decide your future. Beloved child, pause for a moment and lift your gaze, not only with your physical eyes, but with the deep sight of a soul learning to recognize me in all things. The heavens are not silent, they are telling the story of faithfulness. When the night sky opens with its brilliant stars, it is not merely the random beauty of creation, but a living reminder that what I have spoken over your future has not faded into forgetfulness. Each star is a point of light on the map of hope, declaring that the road ahead has been drawn with loving intention, and that promise is not eroded by time or circumstance. Can you feel it, the gentle breeze passing through your days, carrying a tenderness that is also steady and sure? This is not merely the wind of weather, but my breath, carrying partial revelations of the perfect plans I hold for your life. I do not reveal everything at once, not because I conceal, but because I protect. Some things can only be understood when you are ready to receive them. And because I love you, I choose the wise moment so that when the wind blows, you are not swept away, but upheld. My beloved child, learn to recognize me in the most unexpected circumstances. I often act outside the script you anticipate, so that you do not confuse a miracle with your own merit. There are doors that open when you believe every path has already closed. There are encounters that occur at the very moment you need them most, even though you never planned them. And there are turning points that arrive in very ordinary forms: a brief conversation, a sudden idea, an unanticipated slowing down. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that my mighty hand is quietly at work, shifting things for your good. Open your eyes, my child, not with anxious vigilance, but with peaceful expectation. The signs I send will not be vague, nor will they be easy to miss. They will carry clarity, not so you can boast, but so you can rest assured. When I confirm something, your heart will know. My confirmation does not make you impulsive, it steadies you. It does not push you to move faster than your own rhythm. It helps you walk in the true rhythm of life. Before long, you will see abundance begin to flow into your life in ways you did not anticipate. Abundance is not merely having more, it is having enough, and more than enough to share. I will cause the effort you have poured out to bear fruit, not because you are perfect, but because you are faithful. The quiet labor, the days you persevered without seeing results, the right choices made when no one was watching, all of it is known to me. And in its season, you will witness multiplication unfolding, not loudly, but steadily. Doors will open in response to your faith. This faith is not blind recklessness, it is trust forged through testing. I will arrange opportunities that are harmonious, ones that do not pull you into chaos, that do not require trading peace for success. You will discover that true growth always comes with order, and that real success does not estrange you from who you are. I do not call you to a summit that leaves you isolated. I call you into a wide place where you can breathe, love, and steward well what I entrust to you. In this process, keep your heart tender. Do not let the fears of the past harden you against what is new. Do not let doubt shrink your vision. I do not open only to slam shut again. I open so that you may learn to step through with wisdom. And when you step, I step with you. I do not stand at a distance observing. I am right beside you, adjusting your pace, reminding you to pause when needed, and urging you forward when you hesitate. My beloved child, remember that the signs I give are not meant to replace relationship. They are meant to nourish it. Do not chase signs and forget me. Let the signs draw you closer to me, teaching you to recognize my voice amid many sounds. When you do, you will find that the greatest miracle is not only what happens outwardly, but the renewal that takes place within, from anxiety to trust, from haste to peace, from self-reliance to dependence. I want you to anchor this truth in your heart for the days ahead. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. Psalm 3:7-5. This promise does not say you will understand every step immediately. It promises that when you commit and trust, I will act. My action does not always follow the timetable you expect, but it is always aligned with the right time for life. Therefore, my child, walk with eyes wide open and a heart at rest. When the heavens tell the story of promise, listen. When the wind carries revelation, receive it. When unexpected circumstances open a new door, step through with humility and courage. Abundance is coming not to make you proud, but grateful, not to distract you, but to strengthen you in your calling. I am at work even when you cannot yet see the whole picture. And every sign, every door, every appointed opportunity is speaking the same truth. Your future is safely held in my hands. Trust, open your eyes, and be ready to receive the good things that are coming, for I have gone before you, preparing the way with unchanging love. My beloved child, before you do anything else, I invite you to pause for a moment that is truly honest, not to prove anything to anyone, but to acknowledge what is alive within you. When you write the declaration, I trust you, Lord, It is not merely a sentence appearing in a comment. It is a spiritual act. It is the moment you open the arms of your soul, choosing trust instead of defense, choosing light instead of retreating into darkness. When you write those words, you place a clear mark that you are willing to receive not only comfortable blessings, but also promises that call you to maturity, perseverance, and a walk in truth. As you remain here, listening to my voice with an open heart, you need to know that not every voice you hear comes from life. There are spirits sent with very specific aims to discourage you, to confuse you, and to separate you from where you belong. They do not arrive in frightening forms. They come as whispers that sound reasonable, timely, even very similar to your own thoughts. They do not lie crudely. They mix truth with distortion, making discernment difficult unless you remain alert. They seek out the most sensitive places in your soul where you have been hurt, disappointed, misunderstood, or abandoned. They touch memories you thought had gone quiet. They reopen questions you tried to move beyond. And into those places they sow small but persistent doubts. Are you really good enough? Is God still here? Do your efforts truly matter? These questions do not come to deepen understanding. They come to wear you down. They try to make you open the door not through violence, but through weariness. They know that when you are afraid, the door begins to crack open. When you doubt, the latch loosens. When you are tired and wounded, you are most likely to give in. But I speak to you with a voice that is clear and full of love. Do not open that door. Do not allow fear to decide your response. Do not let doubt take the place of trust. Do not hand over to the darkness what I placed in your hands with infinite care. You belong to me. This is not an abstract idea. It is a spiritual reality. When you belong to me, no one has the authority to touch what is mine unless you willingly give that authority away. Therefore, your responsibility is not to defeat every force by your own strength, but to choose to stand in the right place. You must stand up not in anger, but in alertness. You must choose to stand on the side of truth. Even when your emotions are wavering, you must choose to remain, rather than retreat into isolation. This battle does not take place primarily on the outside. It unfolds in very small yet very real choices you make each day. When you choose prayer instead of sinking into speculation, you are standing firm. When you choose worship even when your heart does not feel joyful, you are standing firm. When you choose to speak words of trust while everything is still unclear, you are standing firm. Your faith is your shield, not because you always feel strong, but because you continue to trust even when you are uncertain. A shield does not stop every arrow from being fired. It stops the arrow from piercing through. Your prayer is a weapon not because it is always long or eloquent, but because it connects you to a source of strength that never runs dry. Some prayers are nothing more than a sigh, a whisper, a single calling of my name when you are exhausted. Yet it is precisely these prayers that shake the unseen things pressing down on you. Do not underestimate small prayers. In the spiritual realm, no prayer is meaningless. My beloved child, I know you not only the surface of what you show to others, but the very depths of your soul. I know the dark moments you have faced alone, when the night seemed to stretch beyond what you could endure. I know there were times you stood very close to the edge of giving up, not because you were weak, but because you had tried for so long, so steadily, so quietly. I know the tears you hid so no one would worry. I know the cries without words that echoed only in your chest in the middle of the night. I know the nights you lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling as though every exit had closed. But my child, even in those nights, I was there, not far away, not watching coldly, but very near, so near that you may not have noticed because the pain was too great. I was with you when you no longer had the strength to call my name. I listened when you could not form a complete prayer. Your silence did not push me away. It drew me closer. For I do not measure my love by the volume of your faith, but by the faithfulness of who I am. There were times you fell, not a small stumble, but a real collapse. There were moments you wondered whether you could ever stand again. But, my beloved, even when you fell, I did not leave my place. I remained there, steady and patient, waiting not to reproach you, but to lift you when you were ready. I am not impatient with your process. I do not count the number of times you fall. I look toward you with eyes full of hope, knowing that you are still breathing, still seeking, still within my arms. Even if you cannot yet feel it, you once thought your faith had gone out. You looked inside yourself and saw only ashes, only weariness, only emptiness. But my child, I have never allowed that flame to be completely extinguished. Even when you could not see it, I preserved a small spark, a smoldering ember, shielded from opposing winds, from relentless rain, from the accusations you spoke against yourself. That flame is the deepest part of you that still longs for life, still wants to believe, still wants to rise again. And right now, I am bending down, gently breathing that flame back into life. Feel it, the warmth returning. Softly, truly. It does not blaze fiercely all at once. Because I do not want to frighten you, I breathe new life into you with the rhythm of love, not of force. I am awakening parts of you that you thought had died long ago, the ability to hope, the ability to trust, the ability to dream without punishing yourself for past disappointments. I am renewing you from the inside, where no one sees, where real change begins. So, I say to you, with all the tenderness and authority of a father, remain with me until the end. Do not leave halfway just because you are tired. Do not turn away simply because you have not yet seen an immediate answer. To remain does not mean you must be strong for the entire journey. To remain simply means you do not separate yourself from my presence. When you remain, even your weakness becomes a place where I am at work. Listen all the way to the final word. Not because my first words were insufficient, but because there are things that can only be spoken when you are ready to hear them. Some truths must be placed into a heart that has passed through testing, that has been softened by tears, that has been opened by humility. I do not rush to reveal everything at once, because I know you. I know the rhythm of your heart. I know how much light you need at each stage so that you are not overwhelmed. My beloved child, what I am about to reveal may change everything, not because the outer circumstances will instantly reverse, but because the way you see everything will be reshaped. This may be the turning point where you no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but begin to ask, "Who am I being invited to become through this?" This may be the precise moment when heaven touches your life, not with thunder or lightning, but with timely help, quiet renewal, and answers that arrive in portions, just enough for each day. Heaven touches down when you realize that you have never been abandoned. Heaven touches down when you see that the painful years were not meaningless, but were weaving a new depth within you. Heaven touches down when you sense that life is returning, not rushed, not strained, but steadier and truer than before. I did not come to take you back to who you used to be. I came to lead you into the new person you have been prepared to become. You may not yet see the whole picture, and that is all right. I do not ask you to understand everything. I only invite you to trust that I am at work even when you cannot yet name what I am doing. I am rearranging the fragments. I am reconnecting what was broken. I am opening paths you could never create on your own. And in all of this, I am holding you very close to my heart. So, my beloved child, take a deep breath and remain. Let the tears flow if they need to. Let the questions be asked without blaming yourself. Let the weariness be acknowledged. I am not afraid of your truth. I meet you precisely there, and from that place, I will lead you forward step by step, day by day, until you realize that what seemed like an ending was in fact only the beginning of a new chapter, where life is restored, faith is renewed, and hope is born again in the light of my love that never runs dry. My beloved, if right now you feel as though you are being surrounded by mounting pressure, by harsh words piercing your heart like sharp points, by tangled situations that seem to have no way out, understand that this is not a coincidence. The enemy does not need to strike you down immediately. What he aims for is to disorient you. He wants you spinning in what closes in around you, staring so intently at the wall in front of you that you forget the sky above. He wants you to look sideways, look downward, look into your own fear, but not to look up, because he knows that the moment you lift your gaze, his power begins to unravel. My child, lift your eyes, not as a mere outward gesture, but as a deep choice within your heart. To look up is to refuse to let circumstances define you. To look up is to decide that the loudest voice in your life will not be the noise of pressure, but my voice. When you look up, you do not deny what is happening around you. You simply put it in its proper place. It is no longer the center. I am the center. And where I am, help is always present. I am your help, not late, not absent, not vague. I do not watch you from a distance like a detached spectator. I step directly into the situation you are facing. When you are in the fire, I do not stand outside pointing the way. I enter the fire with you. When you are surrounded by the roaring of fear, I shut the lion's mouth before its fangs can reach you. When you stand before towering walls of limitation, of the past, of judgment, I do not tell you to climb them on your own. I tear them down from their foundations. When chains seem to have tightened around your life, I do not merely loosen them, I break them apart. My beloved, I am not a God who was powerful only in ancient stories. I am the God who is acting right now in the very circumstances you are living. I do not wait until you are strong enough before I intervene. I intervene so that you are not crushed by the demand to be strong on your own. My presence does not depend on how you feel. Even when you tremble, I remain steady. Even when you are confused, I remain clear. And it is that steadiness that I give to you. Little by little, the enemy tries to make you believe that everything depends on your reaction, that if you say the wrong thing, choose incorrectly, or move one step too slowly, everything will collapse. But that is the most subtle lie of all. I do not build your life on fragile perfection. I build it on enduring grace. You do not need to anticipate every attack. You only need to remain in me. When you remain, I fight on your behalf. And many battles are settled long before you even realize you are standing in the midst of a battlefield. Look back at what I have done in your life, those moments when you thought you could not possibly endure, and yet here you are, still standing. There were doors that opened at the very last moment. There were dangers that dissolved without you ever knowing how close you came to facing them. There were detours that seemed like delays, but were in fact protections, sparing you from far greater harm. None of this was luck. It was my hand guiding you, shielding you, and going before you, step by step. When pressure rises, the enemy urges you to react quickly, to speak too fast, decide too fast, defend too fast. But I invite you to do the opposite. Stand still in me. Standing still is not giving up. Standing still is placing your trust in the right place. In that stillness, I restore order. I quiet the noise. I show you what deserves your attention and what is merely bait. And when you see clearly, You move forward with wisdom, no longer pulled by fear. My beloved child, I know you are tired. I know there are days when it feels as though you are holding too many fronts at once. But hear me, you were not created to live in a constant state of siege. You were created to live in the safety of my presence. When you lift your eyes, you will realize that the encirclement is not as closed as you thought. There is an open expanse above you, a place where hope can breathe, where life flows, where my power moves unhindered. I am the God who secures victory before the battle even begins, not because I take the conflict lightly, but because I see the outcome from the start. What troubles you today does not have the final word. Words that have wounded you do not have the authority to define your future. Complicated situations do not have the power to drown you. I have gone ahead of you into tomorrow, and I am already there. I have prepared the way, set help in place, and guarded what belongs to you. Therefore, beloved child, lift your eyes again and again. Every time the weight pulls you downward, let your gaze meet mine. There you will find not accusation, but steadfast love. You will see not haste, but a deep and unshakable peace. You will encounter not a distant God, but a Father ready to step into whatever place you are standing. You do not fight alone. You are not abandoned in the midst of pressure. You are not forgotten among the noise. I am here, your help in times of trouble, your refuge when the winds rise, your strength when your heart grows weak, your light when you can no longer see the way. And when you lift your eyes, you will realize that what surrounds you is not the enemy, but my protection, quiet, powerful, and constantly at work for your good. My beloved child, listen to me with a courageous and honest heart, for my words are not spoken to condemn you, but to rescue you from the silent erosion taking place. You must seek me not with momentary urgency, but with a deep decision of the soul. Seeking me is not merely adding another habit, it is reorienting the entire center of your life. When you seek me, you turn toward the source of light, and when you turn toward the light, the shadows reveal themselves. Only when they are exposed can they be healed. You must realign yourself. This requires stopping and looking directly without avoidance at what is occupying your mind. There are images you have seen too often, images that do not build you up or nourish you, but quietly numb your ability to discern. There are voices you have listened to for too long, judgments, comparisons, sarcasm, or pessimism that do not come from me, yet have become so familiar that they feel normal. And there are thoughts you have nurtured, stories you tell yourself to protect your heart that are in fact poisoning your soul with fear, doubt, and a sense of unworthiness. My child, none of these things happen overnight. They accumulate slowly, like dust settling on armor. Each time you ignore a small warning, each time you compromise with something that seems harmless, each time you delay returning to me, another section of that armor grows thinner, and then you wonder why you feel more exhausted than before, more vulnerable than before, more easily discouraged than before. It is not because you are weak, it is because your spiritual armor has been worn down. Understand this clearly: the enemy rarely begins with a full-scale attack. He does not come loudly, where you can easily recognize and resist him. He starts subtly with a tiny seed of doubt. Are you sure what I said really applies to you? Then he waters that seed with comparisons. Look at others. Why do they receive this while you do not? As the seed sprouts, he plants a root of bitterness. You have tried so hard, and still nothing has changed. And once the root has taken hold, he adds a distraction that appears harmless, a pastime that consumes your time, a habit that numbs you, a rhythm of life that causes you to forget how to listen to me. Before you realized it, you had drifted away from the source of life, not by one great leap, but by hundreds of very small steps. You were still doing familiar things, still saying the right words, yet your heart was no longer rooted deeply in me as it once was. And when you are no longer rooted, you become vulnerable to blows you could once withstand. You did not fall because you became evil. You weakened because you became scattered. You were not defeated because you lacked ability. You grew weary because you drank from sources that did not give you life. That is why I call you to cut away, not with cruelty, but with loving wisdom. Cutting off what weakens your faith is not loss, it is release. There are things that once helped you survive a difficult season, but are no longer fitting. There are voices that once made you feel understood, yet slowly drew you away from me. There are patterns of thought that once helped you endure, but now hinder your growth. To cut away is not to deny the past. It is to honor the journey and choose the next step. I do not call you to live in fearful isolation. I call you to live in awareness. Awareness to recognize what is building you and what is eroding you. Awareness to choose light rather than compromise with darkness in disguise. Awareness to guard your time, your attention, and your heart, for these are the most important gateways of spiritual life. When you are awake, you do not have to guess. You recognize my voice clearly among many sounds. Return to what is simple yet powerful. Let my word become the measure for the voices you hear. Let my presence be the place you return to whenever you sense yourself becoming scattered. Let prayer, even brief, even fragmented, draw you back into the rhythm of truth. Let worship cleanse the atmosphere within your heart, reminding you who you are and where you belong. These things are not loud, but they build enduring armor, layer by layer, day by day. My beloved, I do not say these things to shame you for what has been. I say them so you may have the chance to begin again today, right here. Armor can be reinforced. Roots of bitterness can be pulled out. Seeds of doubt can be replaced with seeds of truth. The source of life is still there, waiting for you to return and drink. And when you return, you will realize that I have never left my place. I have waited for you, not with disappointment, but with hope. Remember this, you are not meant to face every subtle scheme on your own. When you abide in me, you are protected by light. When you choose me, you step out of the gray zone of compromise. When you cut away what weakens you, you are choosing life. And when you choose life, your spiritual armor will be restored, not only to endure, but so that you may walk in strength, freedom, and deep peace. Therefore, my beloved, seek me with your whole heart, with honesty, with a decision not delayed. Reorient yourself, return to the source of life. Cut away what weakens you, not out of rule-keeping, but out of love. I am here, ready to reinforce your armor, ready to lead you back to safety, ready to renew you from within. And when you rise again, you will not merely stand firm, you will walk with clarity, strength, and joy anchored in me. My beloved, listen to me with a fully awakened heart, for what I speak is not meant to make you suspicious of those around you, but to help you understand the spiritual picture quietly at work. There are people very close to you, familiar faces, relationships that seem safe, who are unknowingly being used as instruments to weaken your faith, not because they are evil, and not because they intend to harm you. They are spiritually blind. They speak words that sound reasonable but lack light. They react from fear, from unhealed wounds, from limitations they themselves have never crossed. And when you listen to those voices for too long, you begin to carry burdens that do not belong to you. My child, I do not call you to live in bitterness or contempt. I call you to discernment. Discernment is not withdrawing from the world behind a cold wall. Discernment is knowing which voices to hear, what to keep, and when to remain silent to protect the flame within you. You cannot drink from every source and still remain pure. You cannot open your heart to every opinion and still remain steady. I do not blame you for having listened before. I simply invite you to choose again. Choose the light. Choose the truth. Choose me. I have called you to become light, not a blinding light that overwhelms others, but a steady light that shows the way through the night. I have called you to become salt, not to sting open wounds, but to preserve life from decay. I have called you to become an answer not through clever words, but through a life that has been transformed. Yet, my child, light only shines when it is lit, salt only works when it retains its nature, and an answer only carries weight when it flows from a life filled with my presence. That is why you must be filled with me, not filled with religious schedules, not filled with familiar language, but filled with living presence. That presence does not come from rushing, it comes from remaining. Remain in my word until the word seeps into your thoughts. Remain in prayer until your heart is softened. Remain in worship until truth overtakes every competing noise. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot illuminate others if your own lamp is running dry. Pray with depth. Beloved, do not pray merely to speak. Pray in order to listen. Some prayers need not be long, but they must be real. There are nights when all you need to whisper is a single, simple line, guard my heart, and I will hear. To pray with depth is to dare to remain when I shine light into the corners you have been avoiding. It is to allow me to touch your motives, your fears, your old wounds. This is not weakness, it is the doorway to healing. Worship in truth, not only when it feels easy, but also when your heart feels heavy. Worship in truth is choosing to place me above fleeting emotions. It is reminding your soul that I am still who I am even when circumstances have not yet changed. When you worship this way, the atmosphere around you shifts. Pressures lose their authority. Voices that stir doubt grow quieter. And you realize that your refuge is not control, but presence. Seek me as though you need me to breathe, not because I am scarce, but because you are alive. Breath is not a reward for the capable. It is essential for every living being. When you seek me in this way, I am no longer a secondary option. I become the center. And when I am the center, everything else finds its proper place. Relationships are set in order. Voices are weighed against truth. Decisions are made with peace. Your life is not ordinary. Beloved, I wove you with intention. I placed gifts within you not to be hidden, but to serve. Your calling is significant not by the world's standards of display, but by the kingdom's measure of faithfulness. You are called to stand at difficult intersections, where light must be held steady. You are called to love when others grow weary. You are called to remain patient when those around you are exhausted. And because of this calling, the opposition has grown more intense. Do not misunderstand, the intensity of pressure is not the measure of your worth, but it often reflects the potential of your influence. The enemy does not waste effort on what is meaningless. He seeks to blind you, distract you, drain you not because you are weak, but because you carry the capacity to make a difference. Yet, my child, that capacity does not come from ego. It comes from fullness. And fullness does not come from moving faster, but from going deeper. Therefore, guard your heart. Do not allow careless words to erode your trust. Do not let reactions without light shape your choices. Love deeply, but do not absorb everything. Listen attentively, but do not lose direction. You can be among them without belonging to their darkness. You can love them without carrying their burdens. You can be light without arguing with the darkness. I am with you not only when you are strong, but also when you are tired. I restore you when you return. I renew you when you remain. I lead you step by step, so that you do not lose yourself in the work of serving. Let me fill you each day. Let me guard the flame. Let me use you in my way, gentle yet steady, humble yet powerful. My beloved, I invite you to open your heart beyond the familiar boundaries of personal worry, to see the larger picture that love is drawing. Share this message not as a heavy obligation, but as the natural heartbeat of compassion. Send it to those you love, to those who have come to your mind during quiet nights of prayer. For out there are still souls standing at dangerous thresholds without realizing it. There are those caught in unseen battles, pushing themselves through one more day, while strength has run out, hope has thinned, and they no longer feel able to keep fighting. My child, the world does not always shout its pain. Often, pain is silent, hidden behind smiles, busy schedules, and the words "I'm fine." There are those drifting in the storm with nothing to hold on to. There are those who have forgotten that they were created for life, for light, for hope. And so I call you to become a trumpet of warning, not to spread fear, but to awaken. Your trumpet does not need to be loud, it needs to be true. A timely word, a message sent in love, a presence without judgment can be enough to change the direction of a soul. Become a bridge that leads to salvation. A bridge is not a place to live. A bridge is a passageway. You are not called to replace me. You are called to point the way back to me. When you stand in the middle between despair and hope, between darkness and light, stand firm. A bridge bears weight not because it is rigid, but because it is securely anchored to both shores. So are you anchored in my love, and reaching outward with mercy toward others. When you live this way, you do not carry the pain of the whole world. You open a way for grace to pass through. When you share, I act. Do not underestimate a small act done in faith. I work through messages sent at midnight, through unexpected phone calls, through lines of text that seem simple yet are saturated with sincerity. I work through wordless embraces, through tears of empathy, through your patient presence. When you spread this word, I send angels to your home not to put on a display, but to protect, not to overwhelm, but to arrange. Doors are held back. Wrong turns are avoided. Dangers are restrained, and you may never know them all. But I do. When you say Amen, it is not merely a response. It is the soul's agreement with my will. Heaven answers not with empty promises, but with fire and glory, fire to refine, glory to uphold. My fire does not consume you. It burns away the bonds. My glory does not weigh you down. It covers you so you can stand steady in strong winds. When you agree, you step into the rhythm of grace, where small things are multiplied, where weakness is wrapped in strength. Your life has value, not because of what you achieve, but because you belong to me. Your time will not be stolen, not by haste, not by distraction, not by fear. I redeem the years that seemed lost with new wisdom, with a healthy pace, with timely choices. Your health will not be taken from you. I teach you to listen to your body, to honor limits, and to rest in me. Your dreams will not be buried. I sift to keep the true seeds, then water them in the right season so they bloom in ways you do not expect. The enemy will not have the final word. He may be loud, he may threaten, he may sow doubt, but the final word comes from me, and my word does not change with circumstances. I speak life where you see dead ends. I make a way where you see walls. I give peace where you see storms. When you are weary, I uphold you. When you lose your way, I lead you back. When you fall, I do not leave. I reach out my hand. Therefore, I say to you today, not as a slogan, but as a loving command, live. Living is not merely getting by. Living is receiving each day as a gift. Rise not with pride, but with humble courage. Shine not to surpass others, but to light the way for those groping in the night. Your light has come not because you created it, but because you opened the door to me, and the glory of God is upon you, not for your applause, but that my name may be revealed through your life. My beloved, remember the message you share today may be a lifeline for someone tomorrow. Someone considering giving up may find a reason to stay. Someone who is lost may find direction. Someone who is lonely may sense that they are not forgotten. You do not need to say everything beautifully. You only need to speak truthfully. I will do the rest. Walk with gentle wisdom. Keep your heart soft in a world full of sharp edges. Guard your rhythm so you do not run dry. I do not call you to burn bright and then burn out. I call you to shine steadily. When you share from a place of abundance, you do not lose, you are renewed. When you give away light, the light within you does not diminish, it increases. So go not in haste, not in fear. Send without calculation, without delay. Say amen without hesitation, without half measures, and trust that heaven is moving with you. You are not alone on this journey. I go before you to make a way, beside you to uphold you, and behind you to protect you. The final word belongs to me, and that word for you is life, hope, and a light that never goes out. Now, my beloved child, be still for a moment, not an empty stillness, but a consecrated one. Let the noise dissolve like morning mist. Let hurried rhythms settle. Let your heart release its strain. In this quiet, sense my touch, not harsh, not pressing, but gentle and steady like the hand that has held you for a long time. Feel my breath moving within you, not to sweep you away, but to renew the breath of your soul. That wind carries life. That wind carries order. That wind carries awakening. My child, everything has begun, not with a thunderous explosion that draws the attention of the whole world, but with a quiet movement deep within, where decisions are born, where direction is turned, where light is kindled. Your protection has been activated not like rigid armor, but like a living, responsive covering, saturated with grace. Your spirit has been awakened not to make you tense, but to make you discerning, and your life will never be the same again, not because you have lost something, but because you have found something greater. Now, as your soul has been stirred, I need you to listen to me with doubled attentiveness, not because I am speaking more softly, but because the world is speaking more loudly, not because you are weaker, but because you are going deeper. Seasons of transition always require refined listening, like one who learns to read the wind to know when the seasons are changing. You are stepping into a new rhythm, and that rhythm calls for your full presence. Understand this clearly. The enemy has begun to release arrows, not visible ones, that you can easily recognize and avoid, but arrows disguised as the ordinary. They come in the form of distorted emotions, sadness you cannot quite name, irritability without an obvious cause, waves of doubt drifting through like gray clouds. They come in the form of unexplained fatigue even when you have slept enough, even when you have done the right things, even when you have not overexerted yourself. They come in the form of distractions that seem harmless, things that must be done now, habits that kill time, busyness that appears innocent, yet proves deadly to your connection with me. Beloved, He does not need you to make a great mistake. He only needs you to be distracted long enough. He does not need you to abandon your faith. He only needs you to postpone presence. He wants to dull your mind, not through obvious fear, but through prolonged weariness. He wants to fill your schedule with what is meaningless, not evil, but empty. He wants to suffocate your soul with what does not endure, fleeting pleasures, short-term goals. instant gratification, so that you forget the deep current of life flowing within you. For he knows this, the true battlefield is not what you see with your eyes, but what is unfolding within you. If he captures your attention, he blurs your discernment. If he exhausts you, he weakens your ability to remain. If he keeps you busy, he impoverishes your presence. But my child, I speak to you with loving clarity. You are not powerless on this battlefield. You are not an easy target. You have been equipped not with anxiety, but with wakefulness. Therefore, guard the door of your heart. Do not open it to every emotion that comes knocking. Ask where it comes from and where it is leading you. Do not let fatigue decide what is true. Let truth carry you through fatigue. Do not let your schedule define your worth. Let presence shape your rhythm. You do not need to do more. You need to go deeper. You do not need to move faster. You need to stand firmer. Return to the fundamentals, things that seem simple, yet carry the power of life. Set aside short but regular moments of stillness to hear me call your name. Let my word wash your thoughts like cool water. Let prayer, even if it is only a breath, connect you to the source. Let worship straighten the spine of your soul, so you can stand steady in strong winds. These things are not loud, but they cause the unseen arrows to fall away. Beloved, activated protection does not mean you will no longer be tested. It means you will not be consumed. Awakened alertness does not mean you must live in tension. It means you live with discernment. You choose what nourishes. You choose what endures. You choose what leads you back to me. And every such choice is a step forward, small, yet real on this new path. Remember, I am not asking you to fight in your own strength. I am inviting you to remain. Remain in the light when emotions shift. Remain in truth when the noise rises. Remain in peace when the schedule stretches thin. When you remain, I fight on your behalf. Many arrows will fall before they ever reach you. Many traps will be exposed before you step into them. Many burdens will be lifted from your shoulders before you even realize you were carrying them. My child, trust that your life will never be the same again, not because you have lost safety, but because you have entered depth. Depth does not weigh you down, it grounds you. Depth does not distance you, it connects you. Depth does not diminish you, it shapes you into who you truly are in me. What is taking place within you today will shape what you carry into the world tomorrow. So remain silent a little longer, not to escape, but to listen. Feel my wind, not to be swept away, but to be guided. Walk with doubled attentiveness, not out of fear, but out of love. I am here not only to begin, but to complete. And in all these quiet movements, I am doing something enduring, building you from the inside, protecting you at the roots, and leading you in unfading light where the inner battlefield becomes a place of victory. My beloved child, pause with me for a moment and honestly look within your own heart. Can you see, not through self-blame, but through the light of truth, that the very things that once drew you so close to me have gradually been set aside, not because you intentionally turned away, nor because you no longer love me, but because the rhythm of life has carried you along little by little, quietly and persistently. What once felt like the breath of your soul has become something for later, and for later, repeated long enough, slowly turns into forgotten. You no longer sing as you once did, not because you have forgotten the words, but because your heart has grown weary. The song that once flowed naturally from joy and gratitude has become rare, crowded out by unfinished thoughts, layered responsibilities, and unceasing noise. There are mornings when your lips are pressed tight with worry while your heart remains silent. I do not blame you for this. I am only grieved because you are quietly depriving yourself of the very joy that once carried you through so many difficult seasons. You no longer pray with the same hunger. Perhaps you still pray familiar words, brief phrases, but my child, I see the difference. Before, you came to me like one who thirsts and runs to a spring. Now, you come as one who stops by in haste, not because I have changed, but because you have learned how to live without pausing to listen to yourself. And when you no longer listen to yourself, it becomes harder to listen to me as well. You begin your days in such haste that gratitude is nearly forgotten. You open your eyes and are immediately pulled into task lists, messages, awaiting replies, and pressures already standing at the door. I am not saying that work is wrong. I am saying that when you lose the first moments of the day, when your heart is no longer placed rightly, your whole day easily falls out of rhythm. Gratitude is not a ritual. It is a key that unlocks peace. When you forget to give thanks, you unknowingly lock yourself into a sense of lack, even while good things still surround you. You are present in many places in conversations, in crowded spaces, in unending responsibilities, yet absent from your own soul. You do much, think much, react much, but rarely remain. Remain with your true emotions. Remain with the deeper questions. Remain with me. Prolonged distraction causes you to forget who you are when you are not doing. And when you forget who you are, you begin to measure your worth by performance, by approval, by standards that do not nurture life. This, my beloved child, is dangerous not because I withdraw, but because you are drifting away from the source. The farther you move from the source, the weaker your spirit becomes. Like a branch separated from the vine, it does not wither immediately. At first, the leaves remain green. The outward form appears fine, but inside, life has already begun to drain away. You may still smile, still fulfill responsibilities, still receive praise, yet your soul is lacking oxygen. And as you grow weaker, you become more vulnerable to the unseen battle that is intensifying around your life. That battle does not always announce itself through great crises. More often, it comes through small needles, a quiet doubt about your worth, a nameless emptiness, a weariness without clear cause, a frustration that flares too easily. The enemy does not need you to fall hard, he only needs you exhausted. He does not need you to commit great wrongs, he only needs you to live without a living source. I say these things not to frighten you, but to awaken you. Awakening is not condemning yourself for drifting off rhythm. Awakening is realizing that the way back is still open. You have not gone too far. You have not lost me. I am still here, right where you last left me. I wait for you not with reproach, but with the gentle patience of a love that does not grow weary. Return to the simple things that once brought your soul to life. You do not need to do everything at once. Just one small but sincere choice. A whispered song when you have no words. A fragmented yet honest prayer. A moment at the start of the day when you place your hand on your chest and say, I give thanks for today. These small things are not insignificant. They are springs of water. And a spring, once reopened, can nourish an entire field. Learn to slow down, not to avoid responsibility, but to place responsibility where it belongs. You were not created to live in a state of constant hurry. You were created to live in the rhythm of grace. That rhythm holds space for work and rest, for speaking and listening, for giving and receiving. When you live within that rhythm, your soul no longer has to cry out just to be noticed. My beloved child, I remember the days when you sought me with hunger and thirst, and I also remember the days when you fell silent from weariness. Both are held within my reach. I do not meet you only when you are fervent. I meet you even when you have no words left. Yet I want you to understand this communion cannot be sustained on leftover fragments of time. Love requires presence. Faith requires care. The soul needs room to breathe. Return to me what you have unintentionally taken away: your attention, your priority, your honesty, not so that I may gain, but so that you may live. When you place me back at the center, other things find their rightful place. Pressure loses its weight. Noise loses its power. Fear no longer leads the way. You begin to hear my voice again, not as a distant command, but as a familiar whisper. My child, do not wait until you are exhausted to return. Do not wait until your soul is dry to look for water. Come back now, right in this moment. Sit down. Breathe deeply. Let me touch the place where you are weary. I do not need you to explain yourself. I only need you to remain. For when you remain with me, you grow strong not by straining, but by connection. When you remain, the unseen battle gradually loses its advantage. When you remain, your soul is reinforced from within. And when you are nourished, you do not merely stand firm, you shine naturally, without forcing it. My beloved child, return to the source, return to the song, return to the holy hunger and thirst, not to become who you once were, but to become who is being renewed today. I am here. I have not gone anywhere, and I am waiting for you, not somewhere far ahead, but right in the very moment you choose to return to me with your whole heart. My beloved child, I am letting my light seep into the deepest places within you, places where, for a long time, you have grown so accustomed to darkness that you came to believe it was simply part of who you are. This light does not come to expose you to shame, but to free you from burdens you have carried for too long. I am entering the inner rooms you once sealed shut out of fear, fear of facing them, fear of being misunderstood, fear that this is just who I am. But hear me, my child, some things you have accepted not because they are true, but because you were tired, and I have come to tell you this weariness is not your destiny. I am breaking the invisible agreements you unknowingly made in your weakest moments. These agreements were not signed with ink, but with emotion. They were formed when, in pain, you spoke careless words, words of self-diminishment, self-condemnation, self-limitation. They took shape when negative thoughts repeated themselves in your mind until you began to believe they were truth. They were reinforced when you clung to wounded, disappointed, bitter emotions as though they were part of your identity, as though letting go meant losing yourself. But my beloved child, those things are not you. They are burdens. They are chains. Those chains have lodged themselves deep in your emotions like arrows, not killing you outright, but causing you to stagger whenever you try to move forward. They make you doubt yourself precisely when you most need clarity. They throw you off balance at the very moment you are being invited to stand firm. They whisper that you are not enough, that you will always be this way, that you cannot change. But I say to you, with the authority of the one who created you, those voices no longer have the right to rule your life. Now, by the power of my name, those chains are being broken, not by your striving, but by my presence. You do not need to fight to prove you deserve freedom. Freedom is a gift I give, not a reward you must earn. When my light touches a place, darkness does not argue, it dissolves. When truth is spoken, lies lose their footing, and I am speaking truth into the very places you once believed could never change. When you listen to me, truly listen, not only with your ears, but with the full depth of your soul, heaven is in motion. The unseen is being reordered. Angels are being sent, not to create noise, but to guard, to guide, to loosen what you cannot loosen on your own. The wind of my spirit is blowing through your home, not only the space where you live, but the house of your mind, your memories, your emotions. That wind carries new life. It sweeps away the dust of accumulated years and clears the air you have grown used to breathing in weariness. A purification is taking place. Not a purification meant to frighten you, but one that makes you lighter. Thoughts that no longer fit are being washed away. Old beliefs that once helped you survive but now restrain you are being replaced. Emotional reflexes that once protected you but now cause you to close in are being healed. I am not erasing your history. I am freeing it from ruling your present. At the same time, a repositioning is happening. You are not being healed merely to return to who you once were. You are being set into the place I intended for you from the very beginning. This place is not where you must strain to prove yourself, but where you stand firm in your true identity. As you are repositioned, what once confused you begins to lose its pull. Relationships, habits, and directions that no longer fit slip naturally from your hands, not because you force them away, but because you no longer need them. A battle has begun, but not in a way that should alarm you. This is a battle that has shifted. It is unfolding in your favor because you are now aware. Awareness is the turning point. Before, the enemy could manipulate you in the darkness of unawareness. Now, the light has been turned on. Now you see the repeating patterns. Now you recognize emotions that do not belong to you. Now you know when you are being pulled away from the truth. And when you know, you are no longer a victim. You become one who is free to choose. You are awake now, not in a tense way, but in a living one. Your soul is opening its eyes. You are beginning to sense more clearly what nourishes you and what drains you. You are beginning to hear my whisper more distinctly amid the many sounds. You are learning to discern what is prompted by love and what is driven by fear. This awakening does not exhaust you, it illuminates you. You are now in the right place. The right place is not where everything is easy, but where you stand in the light. The right place is where you no longer have to pretend to be strong, nor hide your weakness. The right place is where you allow me to do my work within you. Instead of trying to control everything yourself, when you are in the right place, you do not need to rush. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to compare yourself. You only need to remain. Beloved, let me continue the work I am doing. Do not fear the changes taking place within you. Do not cling to chains that have already broken simply because they are familiar. Do not return to the darkness just because the light requires your eyes to adjust. I am leading you not to make you lose yourself, but to help you truly meet yourself for the first time, the one who is free, healed, and firmly grounded in love. Trust that what is happening is not chaos, but reordering, not loss, but release, not an ending, but a beginning. I am here in every new breath you take, in every step that grows steadier, in every moment you realize you are no longer bound as you once were. From here, you will move forward, not in fear, but in light, not in isolation, but in companionship, not in the old darkness, but in the freedom I prepared for you long ago. Beloved, I need you to stand firm, not with the rigidity of fear, but with the deep stability of faith that has been refined. Standing firm is a choice made again and again each day, sometimes each hour, amid countless forces pulling you off course. Therefore, I remind you with resolute love, do not allow yourself to be distracted. Distraction does not always appear as something bad. It often comes disguised as what seems necessary, reasonable, or harmless. But anything that steals your attention from life itself is too high a price to pay. Do not waste time on conversations that drain your faith. Not every conversation is worth staying in. Some words appear to be sharing, but actually feed doubt. Some stories sound like empathy, but pull you into a gray zone of despair. I'm not calling you to withdraw from people. I'm calling you to be selective about what nourishes your soul. You can love without absorbing. You can listen without agreeing. You can be present without remaining too long in spaces that leave you dry. My beloved child, rekindle the altar that has grown cold, not with haste or guilt, but with a gentle and steadfast decision of love. The altar is not merely a place or a ritual, it is the meeting point between your heart and mine, where you lay down the noise and gather life again. Perhaps ash has settled thick with time. Perhaps the flame has dwindled to glowing embers after long seasons of weariness. But, my child, only a single sincere breath, a calling of my name from the depths of your heart, is enough for the fire to rise again. I do not despise small beginnings. I cherish them, because they are born of truth. Speak with me as you once did when your words were simple, when your heart had not learned to guard itself, when you came, not to perform but simply to be with me. Do not edit your sentences to sound right. Let your words be real. I am not searching for perfect language. I am seeking full presence. You may come to me with a sigh, with confusion, with questions that have no answers yet. I am not offended by fragility. I meet you precisely there. And when you speak, I listen without distraction, without weariness, without missing a single heartbeat. Pray as one who knows they are being heard, because truly, you are. Your prayers do not fall into emptiness. I have kept every word you have offered, both the ones you spoke aloud and the ones that caught in your throat because the pain was too great. I have counted every tear, those that fell onto your pillow at night, those shed quietly during the day, those you hid so you could keep going. I do not take tears lightly. I read their language. And I have been writing your story with details even you did not notice, turns that seemed meaningless, delays that felt like missed chances, stumbles that looked like failure, all of it woven into a steady thread of grace. My beloved child, I assure you that the enemy will have no authority over anything written by my own hand, no matter how it tries to twist the truth, no matter how loudly it shouts to stir fear, no matter how violently it surges with the force of lies. There is a boundary, and that boundary is not fragile. That boundary is my hand. My hand sets limits no power can cross. My hand upholds what I have promised. My hand surrounds you not to confine you, but to protect you, not to control you, but to preserve life. I myself surround you. When you feel alone, my arms are closing in around you. When you feel lacking, I fill the empty spaces not always with what you desire, but always with what you need. I fill them with peace when answers have not yet come, with hope when your courage wanes, with wisdom when you stand at a crossroads. I declare that you have been sealed with my spirit, a seal that does not fade, cannot be erased by mistakes or fear. That seal proclaims that you belong to me, are protected, guided, and kept safe within purpose. Yet, my child, I need your surrender, a true surrender, not a shallow one. Surrender is not giving up or losing yourself. Surrender is placing your life back into proper order. It is the moment you say, I no longer want to steer alone. Teach me to walk with you. Surrender does not crush your will. It frees your will from the burden of controlling everything. Surrender does not make you smaller. It places you where you belong. For where surrender exists, power is present. This power is not loud, it is enduring. It is not showy, it is effective. It steadies you in strong winds, helps you say no to what drains you, and yes to what leads to life. Where surrender is found, there is covering not to help you escape reality, but to face reality with the safety of one who knows they are held. Where trust dwells, there are miracles. Miracles are not always sudden reversals. Often, a miracle is a renewed heart, a timely decision, a door opening in the right season. A miracle is when you realize that what once bound you has lost its power, that what once frightened you has grown smaller, that what once seemed unclear has begun to come into focus. A miracle is staying long enough to see grace at work. Therefore, rekindle the altar through practices that are deeply real. Set aside brief but regular moments to place your heart before me. Choose a song even when you do not feel like singing, and let its words carry you through weariness. Open my word not to search for formulas, but to encounter me. Pray not only when you need something, but when you need to be with me. These things are not complicated, they are profound, and it is depth that sustains a lasting flame. My beloved child, do not be afraid that surrender will take your joy away. On the contrary, it restores joy to its truest meaning. Do not fear that surrender will strip you of control. Rather, it places control into the hands of the one who loves you more than anyone else ever could. Do not fear that trust will make you weak. Instead, it makes you strong in a way that does not exhaust you. Come just as you are without adorning your soul, without hiding the cracks. I am not searching for a flawless appearance. I am seeking a true heart. When you come honestly, I work honestly. When you surrender sincerely, I cover you fully. When you trust deeply, miracles happen, sometimes quietly, sometimes brilliantly, but always in the right time. My child, your story is being written forward not by the noise of the enemy, but by my faithful hand. The pages already written are not torn away, they are redeemed. The pages being written are not interrupted, they are guided. And the page ahead, the page of light, of peace, of steady steps is waiting for you, with an invitation that is simple, yet profound. Surrender. Trust. Remain. My beloved, listen to me with a calm and mature heart. For what I am about to say is not meant to make you suspicious of those around you, but to help you see what is unfolding at a deeper level. There are people very close to you, people you trust, people you love, who have unintentionally become channels of disturbance, not because they are malicious, not because they intend to harm you, but because they carry wounds that have not yet been healed, and a wounded heart, when left unilluminated, can wound others in very subtle ways. The enemy understands this pattern well. He rarely attacks you from a distance. Instead, he looks for a way around the doors you have opened through love. He does not need to sow open hostility. He only needs to stir small misunderstandings. He does not need to destroy great trust. He only needs to erode the sense of safety within your closest relationships. He touches what you cherish not to destroy it outright, but to disorient you. He stirs conflict in places where you should find peace, so that you begin to doubt even your place of refuge. My child, when disturbance comes from strangers, it is easier to recognize, but when it comes from those close to you, emotions easily take over. You begin to react instead of discern. You begin to defend instead of listen. You begin to speak from pain instead of from truth. And in that moment, you forget what you already know so well. Your struggle is not against flesh and blood. The real battle is not with the person before you, but with the unseen influences seeking to manipulate both sides. I know there are moments when you feel misunderstood, wounded, even betrayed by those you least expected. I know there are conversations that weigh heavily on your heart, messages that steal your sleep, silences that leave you confused. But, my beloved, remember this: not everything that hurts you is born of malice. Often, it comes from pain that has not yet been named. And when you respond to pain with pain, the spiral only deepens. That is why I give you discernment, not to make you cold, but to make you clear. Discernment allows you to separate the person from the influence acting upon them. It helps you see the wound behind sharp words, the fear behind control, and the insecurity behind anger. When you discern, you do not deny your own hurt, You simply refuse to let that hurt dictate your response. I also give you wisdom, the wisdom to know when to speak and when to be silent, when to confront and when to step back and pray. Not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Not every emotion needs to be expressed at the height of intensity. Wisdom protects what is precious by placing it in the right time. And my child, timing itself is part of obedience. I further give you strategy, not the strategy of manipulation or control, but the strategy of life. This strategy begins within guarding your thoughts. For whatever you allow to remain in your mind will soon find its way out through your words and actions. If you allow negative assumptions to take residence, they will write a distorted story. If you allow bitterness to take root, it will warp how you see others. Therefore, stand watch at the gate of your mind with faithfulness, not with anxiety, but with truth. Guard your words carefully. Words carry the power to build or to destroy. When you speak while stirred by agitation, you may unintentionally become a channel for the very disruption you despise. I do not ask you to remain silent in the face of injustice. I invite you to speak with the spirit of life. Speak the truth, but speak it in love. Set boundaries, but set them in peace. When your words are anchored in me, they become instruments of healing rather than weapons that wound. And, my beloved child, speak life even when you are surrounded by death. This is not easy. It requires you to draw strength from a deeper source than fleeting emotions. Speaking life does not mean denying difficult realities. It means choosing not to let those realities have the final word. When you speak life, you declare that relationships can be healed, that misunderstandings can be brought into the light, and that wounded hearts can be restored, beginning with your own. Remember this: the enemy delights in hiding between the lines, within messages that lack tone, in hurried emails, in fragmented statements. He thrives on missing context, on assumptions, on rushed conclusions. Therefore, slow down. Ask before you assume. Pray before you respond. Let me be the filter for what you are about to say. Many battles are avoided simply by 1 minute of holy silence. My child, what I am doing in you is shaping you into a bearer of peace, not someone who avoids conflict, but someone who knows how to walk through conflict without losing their soul. You are not called to win every argument. You are called to keep the light. You are not called to fix everyone. You are called to be faithful to the truth. And when you are faithful, I will take care of the rest. Let my love shape the way you respond. Love is not weak, it is steady. Love is not blind, it sees clearly. Love does not tolerate what causes harm, it sets boundaries to protect life. When you act from love in this way, you are no longer drawn into the game of disruption. You stand on another level, the level of light. My beloved, trust that I am present within your relationships, even when they are tense. I am working in ways you cannot see. I am touching wounded hearts, sometimes beginning by healing you first. Do not lose heart if change does not come immediately. True healing is rarely loud. It is persistent and deep. Therefore, continue to guard your thoughts, guard your words, and guard your heart. Choose life whenever a choice is set before you. Remember that the strongest enemy is not the person in front of you, but the invisible division seeking to wedge itself in between. And when you refuse to participate in that division, you are winning in the way of the kingdom. I am with you not only to protect you, but to teach you how to love with wisdom, how to stand firm in peace, and how to speak life in a world that is aching to be healed. And as you do, you will see that the light is not only within you, but flows through you, quieting disturbances, calming storms, and opening pathways of restoration that only I can lead to completion. My beloved child, I am the God who sees all things, not only what you display before others, but also what you hide even from yourself. I see the thoughts that pass quickly through your mind and are brushed aside. I see the deeper motives beneath decisions that appear entirely reasonable. I see the smiles you wear to conceal your weariness, the moments you nod in agreement while your heart is quietly fracturing. There is no hidden corner in you that I do not know. There is no moment of your life in which I am absent. I am the God who knows all things, what has been, what is now unfolding, and what is yet to come. I know the choices you have made in fear. I know the times you remained silent when you should have spoken, and the times you spoke when you should have held back. I know the dreams you buried because you were afraid of being disappointed once more. I know the promises you whispered through tears and later assumed had faded with time. I know it all. And, my beloved, in the fullness of that knowing, I still choose to love you. Pause here and let this settle into your heart, though I know everything about you. I still choose to love you, not because you do everything right, not because you are strong enough, faithful enough, or worthy by any standard. I love you because you are you, because I created you, because your breath bears my imprint, and because the story you are living is not the final chapter. My love is not threatened by the truth. On the contrary, it is the truth that becomes the foundation upon which that love brings healing. And for this very reason, today, I am still calling you. I do not call you to rehearse old failures, nor do I call you to place yourself on trial. I call you to step out of exhaustion, out of the cycle of self-blame, out of the thought that says, perhaps I have missed too much. You have not missed what I have appointed. You have not gone too far to return. My call does not rise from your past. It comes from the future I have already prepared for you. Today, I give you another opportunity, not an opportunity to try harder by your own strength, but an opportunity to put on my presence. To put on my presence is not to wear a religious role, it is to allow me to cover you from the inside out. When you put on my presence, you no longer need to prove anything. You walk with the awareness that I am with you in every small decision, every conversation, every quiet moment no one else sees. For this spiritual battle, my beloved, will not end until everything I have promised is fulfilled. But listen carefully, the battle does not exist to crush you. It exists to carry you to the place where the promise comes to pass. What you are facing is not a sign that you have been abandoned. It is a sign that you are drawing near to something that matters. The enemy does not fight what holds no value. Increased pressure does not mean you are weakening. It means you are advancing. There are days when you feel as though you have been fighting for too long. There are mornings when you wake with heavy hands, a weary heart, and a will more fragile than you want to admit. I know this. I am not surprised by your exhaustion. I am not disappointed when you need rest. I do not turn away when you no longer have the strength to continue in the old way. In those very moments, I want you to know something deeply important. I am with you. I am your shield. When you do not even see the arrow flying toward you, I have already stepped in front. When the words of others wound you more deeply than they realize, I absorb their sharp edge so it does not pierce your soul. When you walk through fog and cannot see the path clearly, I still cover you from unnecessary missteps. My shield does not make you immune to every impact, but it protects what is most essential within you, your faith, your identity, and your connection with me. I am also the support behind you. When you turn back in fear, I am there to remind you that behind you is not emptiness. I stand at your back as a firm foundation. So when you waver, you do not fall face down. I uphold the decisions you make while trembling. I reinforce the steps you take while uncertain. You are not meant to keep your balance alone. I am the anchor you can lean on when your feet grow tired. And more than that, I am the one who fights for you when your hands no longer have the strength to fight. There are battles you are not called to keep swinging the sword. You are called to lay it down and remain. Remain in my presence. Remain in trust. Remain in the promise. When you let go, I do not accuse you of weakness. I step forward. When you fall silent because you have no words left, I speak on your behalf. When you can no longer stand, I stand in your place. My beloved, this does not make you smaller. On the contrary, it places you exactly where you belong, the position of a child, not of one who must carry everything alone. I did not create you to live in a constant state of proving your worth. I created you to live in relationship, where you are loved, guided, and protected. When you allow me to fight for you, you do not lose your role, you step into your true one. The battle will continue, but you do not enter it in fear. Every whirl, every trial, every wave will not pull you away from me, but if you remain, will press you deeper into maturity. I do not promise that you will never grow tired, but I promise you will not be depleted. I do not promise that everything will be easy, but I promise that nothing will be meaningless. Let me remind you of this. What I have promised does not depend on you always being strong. My promise is not as fragile as your emotions. It is anchored in my very nature, the faithful one, the unchanging one, the one who does not withdraw what he has spoken. If you are still standing here, still breathing, still listening, then your story is still being written, and I do not write in order to leave it unfinished. My beloved child, listen to me in this very real moment, because right now, not tomorrow, not at some vague point in the future, the enemy is trying to accelerate its plan to hinder what I have begun in your life. It is not acting blindly. It senses clearly that the harvest is near. It recognizes that the spiritual atmosphere is shifting. It sees doors that were once shut beginning to tremble. It notices angels moving into position, pathways being cleared, and arrangements aligning so that favor may arrive at the appointed time. And because it sees this, it is afraid. That fear makes it hurried, reckless, and more ruthless than before. It no longer has the patience to sow small seeds of doubt as it once did. It wants a quick strike, an internal collapse. It seeks to create an inward crisis, not necessarily a dramatic external event, but a storm within you. It wants you weary at the very moment endurance is required. It wants you discouraged just before victory arrives. It wants you to question yourself, the promise, and me, not because questions are wrong, but because it hopes you will ask them in isolation, in exhaustion, in darkness. But my child, hear me clearly. I, the Lord Jehovah, will not allow this. I have risen on your behalf not because you cried louder, but because I am faithful. I did not rise in haste. I rose in authority. I have commanded my angels not for display, but to protect, to guide, and to carry out what I have ordained. There have been collisions prevented that you never knew about. There have been turns redirected when you thought you were choosing on your own. There have been blows that missed their mark before they ever reached your soul. I have released words of fire, not fire to consume you, but fire to burn away every scheme that stands against your life. These words are not loud, they are precise. They go straight to the root of deception, to the center of fear, to the core of structures designed to imprison you. When words of fire are spoken, chains do not argue, they break. When light is switched on, darkness has nowhere to hide, it dissolves. And this is happening not only around you, but within you. I have marked your household with my blood. That mark does not fade with time, is not erased by upheaval, and is not shaken by accusation. It declares, belongs to me. And where something belongs to me, there are boundaries. I have set boundaries around your life, not to isolate you, but to preserve life. I have pushed back accidents, sickness, and destructive surprises. Things that once lurked in the shadows have been forced to retreat. There were things that almost happened but did not, and you may only recognize them later, looking back with opened eyes. I have also broken generational curses, repeating patterns, sorrowful stories that seem to have no escape, fears passed down when no one remembered their origin. I am not only healing you, I am stopping the flow of destruction so it does not continue downward. You are not required to relive old chapters. You are not meant to carry burdens that are not yours. I have cut that chain by grace, and you are walking on a new path, even if at times you are still unfamiliar with the feeling of freedom. I have silenced the voices that want to see you fall, whispers saying you are not enough, that you are too late, that you will fail as before. Those voices may still attempt to speak, but they have lost their authority. They are no longer judges, they are only noise. And noise does not define truth. Truth is what I speak, and what I speak stands firm. My beloved child, none of this means you will feel no pressure. Pressure is a sign of movement, but pressure no longer has the right to crush you. When you feel heavy, it is not because you are becoming weaker, it is because you are entering a new sphere of influence. When you feel tested, it is not because you have been abandoned, it is because you are being entrusted with more. I do not lead you to the edge, only to leave you there. I lead you to the edge to teach you how to stand. Remember this, the enemy accelerates because it fears being too late. It fears being too late because it knows my timing cannot be delayed. What I have ordained will arrive in its season, not earlier. So you would grow proud, not later. So you would fall into despair at the right moment. So you may recognize that everything is grace, and that season is very near. Therefore, my child, do not let an inner crisis steal your clarity. Do not make major decisions in exhaustion. Do not conclude the story of your life on a gray day. Stay. Breathe. Place your hand on your chest and remember that I am here, not distant, not late, not indifferent. I am working in depths your eyes have not yet seen. You belong to me. That is not a slogan, it is reality. And because you belong to me, whoever touches you touches the apple of my eye. I protect what I love. I guard what I have chosen. I complete what I have begun, not by your strength, but by my power, working quietly yet unceasingly. Walk forward with humility and courage. Guard your heart from bitterness and your mind from panic. Let my word be your anchor when emotions rise. Let my presence be your refuge when storms break out. You do not need to run faster, you need to stand firmer. You do not need to understand everything. You need to trust enough. And when you look back, not now, but at the time I choose, you will see that these tense days were not signs of failure, but signs of a changing season. You will see that the schemes did not succeed. You will see that favor arrived at the appointed time. You will see that my hand was there from beginning to end. Now, pray, beloved Father. I pause before you in a moment of full awakening. I lay down hurried rhythms, restless thoughts, and the noise that causes me to lose the whisper of the Spirit. Draw me back to the deepest place of my soul, where I recognize that my life is precious, worthy of protection and preparation. Father, illuminate the eyes of my heart so that I may not see only what is visible, but also discern the unseen movements taking place, not to make me anxious, but to mature me in discernment. Teach me to understand that discernment does not come from fear, but from light. When your light is turned on, darkness has nowhere to hide. Make me attentive to the small signs, a subtle misalignment, an uneasiness I cannot quite name, an invitation that pulls me away from the peace you have planted within me. Father, give me the courage to pause, to pray, and to choose to remain in you rather than react hastily. I entrust myself to your presence where I do not need to control everything, only to be faithful to what you place before me today. Amen. Father, I come to you, sensing a quiet pressure weighing on my mind and heart. There are days when everything looks normal on the outside, yet inside I feel restless, as though something is not right. I have wondered whether I am too sensitive, whether I am overthinking, but today I choose to believe that this is not merely emotion. It may be a grace. You are awakening the grace of spiritual alertness. Cleanse my thoughts, Father, so that I may distinguish what leads to life from what leads to depletion. Father, if there are quiet attacks wearing down my will through prolonged weariness, do not let me face this unseen battle alone. Remind me that I am not meant to manage everything by myself. Teach me to return to the rhythm you have ordained, the rhythm of trust, of rest, of steady steps. When uninvited guests in the form of negative thoughts appear, help me remember that thoughts are not truth. I choose to close the doors that must be closed and to open my heart to your light. Let peace rise again firmer, deeper, and more real. Amen. Beloved Father, I thank you that you awaken me not so that I shrink back, but so that I stand straighter. I thank you that you do not lead me into a life of rigid self-defense, but invite me into the true refuge, your presence. Forgive me for the times I believed safety came from control, calculation, and constant guarding. Today I relearn the truth: my refuge is you, and your covering does not depend on my shifting feelings. Teach me to honor holy promptings, the prompting to slow down, to be more silent, to release a conversation, a habit, a direction. Help me recognize that many closed doors are not losses, but grace. Do not let me rush to fill the empty spaces you create in order to place something new within me. Grant me patience to let the space breathe, so that I may hear more clearly where you are leading. Father, help me remain faithful in small things, to keep loving, to keep trusting, to keep doing what is right even when no one sees. Amen. Father, I thank you that your process of preparation does not make me hardened, but deepened. I see that preparation is sometimes not about adding more, but about removing what is no longer needed. If there are old defenses you are dismantling within me, help me not to resist. If there are survival habits that once carried me through difficult seasons but now prevent me from living fully, grant me the humility to let them go. Teach me not to cling to what is familiar out of fear of emptiness, but to trust that you create space for truth and that truth leads me into freedom. Dear Father, please remove from me the voices that are no longer true, the stories I once told about myself out of fear. Replace them with what you declare: that I am loved, protected, guided, and not abandoned. When truth pierces and causes pain, help me remember that the purpose is not the pain itself, but healing. Let my tears, if there are any, become seeds sown into your providence, so that in due season I may recognize that you were working most deeply in the days I thought I was most fragile. Amen. Beloved Father, when night falls and my mind grows restless, remind me that your light never sleeps. I confess that there are moments when I am so weary I no longer have the strength to guard myself. Yet today I lean on your promise that you watch over me when I am weak. Please receive my silent prayers, my surrendered sighs, my honest tears, not as seeds falling into emptiness. Plant them in the good soil of grace, so that I do not despair while waiting, but remain at peace within the process. Father, please protect me not only from evil outside, but from erosion within. Guard my heart from becoming hardened, from bitterness, from losing the ability to love. I do not want to trade my tenderness for a false sense of safety. Be my shield, and also the wellspring of my joy. When pressure increases, help me not to measure the future by fleeting emotions, but to anchor my life in your presence. Grant that I sleep in peace, awaken in hope, and walk in a gentle steadiness that only you can give. Amen. Father, I come before you and confess I belong to you. Keep me from confused voices, whispers that sound reasonable, yet pull me away from life. If any spirits seek to touch the sensitive places within me, memories that once hurt, questions that once exhausted me, grant me alertness, so I do not open the door out of weariness. Help me stand in the right place, not standing in anger, but in truth, not standing in my own strength, but under your covering. Father, teach me to fight by remaining. When I choose prayer instead of speculation, help me recognize that as standing firm. When I choose worship even while my heart has not yet found joy, let me know that faith is maturing. When I speak a simple sentence, I trust you make it an anchor for my mind. May your promise lift me up. As Isaiah 40:31 declares, those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. Grant me renewed strength at the right time, not loudly, but steadfastly, so that I do not give up just before the dawn. Amen. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we can build a strong community of faith.